They called him the Vortex. Not a man, but an error, a disruptive thread woven into the otherwise perfect tapestry of the cosmos. His existence, his very heartbeat, created dissonance in the silent song of the universe. Eric, a mortal who dared to possess a soul too bright, too potent for the boundaries set by the gods. He was an inventor, a dreamer, a chaotic anomaly whose simple act of living jeopardized the divine order itself. And so, the mandate was issued. Heaven sent their ultimate solution, the Reckoner, an angel of finality, pure function stripped of all sentiment. Jaffeel, her purpose was singular, her resolve absolute, to descend to the shadowed, rain-slicked metropolis and execute the judgment, to find Eric and erase him from existence. Jaffeel, forged from starlight and eternal mandate, raised her blade, designed to cut through time, engineered to extinguish life without residue. She saw only the mission. The calculation was final. But when the blade descended, Eric looked not upon a weapon, but upon the one who wielded it. And when the steel touched his bare arm, an anomaly occurred. The blade did not destroy. It found something familiar. And in that impossible instant, the end of the world was postponed. The failure of the judgment was instantaneous, and the cost was catastrophic. Jaffeel's perfect white grace began to corrupt where the blade had failed. Where logic should have prevailed, something human had entered. The pure white of her wings, the symbol of her unwavering function, was now being tainted by something illogical, something warm. Eric, witnessing the impossible spectacle, recognized the pain. He pulled the disoriented angel into his hidden sanctuary, a network of wires and flickering light. He offered her the only thing a mortal had, shelter. Jaffeel, battling confusion of a newly awakening emotion, explained the horror. Their touch, their connection, was not just defiance. It was a cosmic imbalance, a sin so profound it could unravel the perfect order. They were fugitives now, the angel who failed her mission, and the mortal who should have died. And above the storm clouds, a silent, terrifying alarm had been sounded. The first warning shot was fired, and the celestial hunter was already descending. Heaven noticed the delay. They noticed the corruption, and they dispatched their response. Not the full might of the legions, not yet, but a vanguard, a single ruthless tracker. His name was Uriel, a zealot angel whose very presence burned with righteous fury. His mission, to rectify Jaffeel's failure, to erase the vortex, and to drag Jaffeel back to the purifying flames of the celestial courts. Their flight was a desperate dance through the ruins of civilization. Eric, the mortal, unexpectedly became the guide. His knowledge of the city's forgotten arteries, its decaying infrastructure, became their only shield. Jaffeel, once a being of perfect grace and precision, was clumsy, pained. Her celestial powers, now tainted, flared uncontrollably. Each surge of her corrupted energy was a beacon in the darkness, a scream to her pursuer. She was a weapon turning against its wielder. Uriel was relentless, faster, stronger, and without her full grace, Jaffeel knew they were running out of time. They were merely delaying the inevitable. But for the first time in her existence, Jaffeel found herself fighting for something other than divine mandate. She was fighting to remain, forced into hiding. Deep within the city's forgotten places, the chase momentarily ceased. It was in these stolen breaths of silence that the impossible truly began to blossom. The terror of the hunt gave way to a deeper, more dangerous emotion. Jaffeel, stripped of her divine composure, revealed the truth of her existence. Angels, she explained, were beings of pure purpose, devoid of the messy, chaotic tangle of human emotion. Her sin wasn't simply failure, it was feeling. A warmth had ignited where only cold logic should have resided. Eric, in turn, showed her the world she was sent to destroy. The fragile beauty of human art, the warmth of a shared laugh, the quiet defiance of simply existing. He taught her the chaos of his own heart, and in doing so, he showed her a different kind of order. They found solace in each other's vulnerability, a connection forged in the crucible of impending doom. And in that desperate, stolen moment, they shared their first true kiss, a defiance whispered into the abyss. But their embrace was not without consequence. The very act of this shared, forbidden emotion sent a ripple through Jaffeel's being, a wave of corrupting shadow, a tangible stain, intensified across her already darkening wings. The deeper the connection, the faster she fell. Their love was a beautiful, terrible countdown, with Jaffeel's power fading and heaven's pursuit intensifying. They knew simple flight was not enough. They needed answers. A desperate quest led them to a forbidden sector of the city, rumors of a hidden presence. Their only hope lay with a rogue, ancient entity, a fallen archivist angel, once a guardian of celestial knowledge, now a cynical hermit, living in the shadows of the mortal world. Scarred by truths too heavy for even an angel to bear, the archivist, with eyes that had seen millennia of cosmic errors, revealed a horrifying truth. Eric was not merely disruptive. He was a vortex, not a man but an engine. His very soul was a cosmic drain, threatening to unravel the angelic hierarchy itself if left unchecked. Jaffeel hadn't just failed her mission. She had bound herself to a fundamental force of chaos, a force so potent, its mere presence could tear apart the fabric of existence. The archer's words were a chilling confirmation. The true threat was not heaven's wrath, but Eric's intrinsic nature and Jaffeel's own fading light. The archivist, with a voice like rustling ancient scrolls, offered them a single, cryptic instruction, a path to survival. But it was not a path to salvation. It was a path to a choice that would test the very definition of their being. The true battle, the archivist warned, had yet to begin. The words of the archivist echoed, survival, not salvation. Jaffeel understood the dark truth of their predicament. With her wings blackened, she was a walking beacon, a clear signal to every celestial tracker that the mission had failed and the angel had fallen. To continue the fight, she had to erase her identity. Jaffeel, the reckoner, had to die so that Jaffeel, the fugitive, could live. She made the terrible, final choice. She would sever her own wings. The act was agony, a violent amputation of her celestial self. Eric, the one who caused the fall, was forced to help her make the ultimate sacrifice, trading grace for one more moment of mortal life. She severed the wings not just to hide her identity, but to slow the corruption, trading her only way home for one more day at Eric's side. When the wings were gone, she collapsed. She was no longer Jaffeel, the divine weapon. She was a mortal woman, tainted by shadow and bound by a love that carried the weight of 1,000 forbidden stars. She was free of the sky, but chained to the earth. The sacrifice bought the mere hours. The zealot angel, Uriel, whose patience had been replaced by searing, righteous indignation, finally caught their scent. He found them the most defiant of mortal structures, a decaying cathedral, its stained glass broken, its altar dusted with rain. Uriel, fueled by celestial fervor, was unstoppable. Jaffeel, relying on brute, unrefined power, was losing ground. But Eric was fighting, too, not with faith or force, but with ingenuity. His true power, the vortex, was channeled through his mind, not his body. While Jaffeel engaged in a desperate, physical struggle, Eric worked. A tiny, complex device, the culmination of his chaotic genius, was placed. A dangerous, calculated trap designed to ensnare a being of pure light. Eric's trap was successful. Uriel was briefly contained, but the moment of quiet was deceptive. They hadn't defeated the threat. They had merely drawn out the final judgment. The legions had arrived, led by an archangel whose power dwarfed anything they had faced. The ultimate, inescapable authority. There were no more warnings, no more escapes. The Archangel offered Jaffeel a cold ultimatum. Return now, be purified, and Eric will be quietly erased. Or stay, continue the rebellion, and become a true demon. A fate which guarantees Eric's permanent, painful annihilation anyway. It was a true no-win scenario. A choice designed not to save them, but to break them. There was no defiance left, only the terrible, agonizing finality of the cosmic law.
The ultimatum hung heavy in the air. Purification or damnation. Both meant Eric's end. Jaffeel, wingless and heartbroken, prepared to speak the words that would condemn her and save his life. But Eric would not allow her to fall alone. He interrupted the Archangel's judgment, silencing the cosmos with a simple, mortal act of love. He confessed his devotion to Jaffeel, the angel who had risked everything for him. Eric's hands trembled as he held the device, a ritual he prepared using the cryptic hint from the archivist. It was designed not to save him, but to transfer the entirety of his vortex power, his very life force, into Jaffeel, a final, beautiful sacrifice of his chaotic soul. He triggered the device. A flash of blinding, chaotic silver energy erupts from Eric, racing toward Jaffeel. The Archangel, stunned by the audacity of the mortal's defiance, watches the transfer, a cosmic act of subversion. Jaffeel cries out, receiving the overwhelming power. The Archangel struck, but it was too late. Eric's body fell, but the vortex power was gone, absorbed, transformed, and refined. Jaffeel didn't become a demon. She became something new, the Queen of Shadow and Light, a being of perfect balance, embodying both the rigid order of heaven and the glorious chaos of the mortal soul. The Archangel recoiled, recognizing not a rebel but an authority. With her new power, Jaffeel reached out. She claimed Eric's soul, pulling his essence from the earth, merging it with her own core. They were no longer two. She commanded the Legion to retreat, not through force, but through the authority of balance. Eric's mortal life was over, but their story had just begun. Jaffeel ruled her own protected realm, a place of eternal twilight. Final twist. Eric's consciousness lived within her, a shared soul that guided her purpose. They were eternally joined, no longer victims of curse, but masters of balance. And when the mortal world falls to quiet, they say you can hear the faint echo of an angel's laugh, finally free. Their reckoning was not damnation, but the birth of eternal love.